Matt Weston.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I refer to my declaration in the amendments to my declaration in the Declaration of Interest. I welcome the bill, although clearly it is much reduced, I understand, from what was originally put forward. It's interesting in the debate so far how so much of the discussion seems to be around cars as vehicles as opposed to vehicles more generally. And I draw attention in particular to electric bikes, scooters, taxis, which has been mentioned, vans, lorries, and in particular buses that I would like to come back to a little bit later. Likewise, I welcome the initiatives such as the Faraday Challenge, which I think is a terrific example of how government can work with academia and businesses to bring about change and revolution in a particular sector. And it is that stimulus which is so crucial when we are looking at such a major step change as we are with what is we're discussing here with electric vehicle technology and autonomous vehicles. And a good example of that has been at Warwick Manufacturing Group, which doesn't actually sit in my constituency, but a good many member of the people who work there do actually live within. And it's really very much at the cutting edge in the development of battery fuel cell technology, working with many other universities across the country and vehicle manufacturers from not just this country, but from around the world. And it is critical that we actually gain leadership in this sector. We need a competitive advantage against the likes of China, Korea and Japan, which are very much the established dominant players in the fuel cell, the battery cell technology. And as part of that, we urgently need to establish a battery prototype centre that is able to adapt to the rapid change in this technology, as we see in other sectors as well, where it is so rapid that it's very easy to be caught out in the technological development. And I very much hope that such a centre could be located at the heart of the automotive industry, which is very much in my constituency, Warwick and Leamington, Coventry and Warwickshire, which really is at the heart of the development of connected vehicles, and that would be a very welcome move indeed. So I look forward to an announcement on that. That ambition has to be matched by our legislative will, and as policymakers in our need to change consumer behaviour, and there's been a lot of talk about that recently from other members on the other side of the chamber. We have to encourage through initiatives and exemptions, fiscal measures and so on, maybe scrappage schemes, to accelerate that change in behaviour, but also that investment from manufacturers, but also in the investment of infrastructure as well. Several weeks ago, I was lucky enough to be invited to the Tech Fest event by Jaguar Land Rover here in London, where they actually announced that every new vehicle line as of 2020 will have electrified versions. And that is a terrific innovation coming from such a major employer and investor in this country. Even the E-Type Jaguar is being retrofitted with battery cell. So there's something for everyone in what they offer. We've heard about Nissan and the Leaf, which has been hugely successful and a terrific economic stimulus for the Northeast. And we've heard, I'm sure, about Mini and its electric versions coming through, and reference has already been made to Volvo and the Geely Polestar range, which I think I'm right in saying will be the first car manufacturer with an entirely purely electric vehicle range to it. So the incentives need to be there. But you know, you look at other countries where there is a certain leadership, greater leadership than perhaps we're showing so far. In Norway, where I believe I'm right in saying that something like over 10% of new vehicle sales are pure electric vehicles in their total car market. And that compares to just a few percent, a couple, 3% in this country. We are really behind the curve compared to other European countries. And our ambition of actually being purely or non-petrol, non-diesel by 2040, I think is an ambition which is a little too late. And we've heard from other people. Yes, indeed.
Would you not agree with me to stimulate the electric car market? We need a minimum density of electric charge points in residential areas and commercial areas to stimulate that market, to ensure we can move to fully electric vehicle market here.
I welcome that intervention. I certainly do think there has to be a minimum density, and it is one of those areas for infrastructure which we should be insisting and urging through all development in our town centres, but also in our new build housing, which has been much talked about, the local plans that are being considered, and it is a critical part of that framework that we should be showing leadership as government, but also as local authorities as well. But just to go back to my point, I think it's a great opportunity, and if anything, we need to accelerate the uptake in electric vehicles, particularly over the next few years. I wanted to talk about buses, which I mentioned earlier, which haven't been referred to, but of course it is our buses and our lorries and our vans which are some of the dirtiest vehicles that we have in our urban areas. And they are the ones that we more urgently need to get taken off the road. I was recently proud to attend the launch of the new Volvo bus, electric vehicle bus, which I understand has now just been up and being tested in certain areas around the country, most recently in Greater Manchester, where it was extremely well received. These are the sorts of vehicles which are going to dramatically change the air quality in our town centres, and we need to accelerate and encourage that sort of adoption. But the challenges also lie in the power grid, and that is hard to access in so many areas, and we've heard about the rural areas in particular. But also the second issue, perhaps, for bus adoption, electric vehicle bus adoption, is the interoperability and standardization of en route charging sites. And this is something where I think our European peers are a little bit further ahead. It's rather like the VHS Betamax debate of many years ago that many of us may remember. And we have to ensure that there is a general acceptance and standardization of that to ensure we have the right sort of infrastructure in place in our town centres. So at the same time, there needs to be subsidies and fiscal incentives for bus operators to adopt these EV buses. Bus operators receive public money as subsidies, and I would urge that this is targeted through a progressive taper to advantage electric vehicles. As mentioned by my right honourable friend for Milton Keynes South, there has been much debated about domestic, commercial and on-street charging points, and as per the intervention just a moment ago. But I also wanted to draw greater attention and focus to the revolution that can be had with the advent of smarter cities, where street light columns and other street furniture can be used as charging points. This is happening elsewhere, and the supply can be two-way to the benefit of the user or the municipality. So in summary, I welcome the bill, but I would urge that we are more ambitious in certain areas and more cautious in others. In implementing the regulatory framework and incentives to accelerate electric vehicle adoption to arrest the serious problems of air quality and climate change, we must be as ambitious as India, the Netherlands and others in banning new petrol and diesel vehicles by 2030. 2040 is too late. And in considering the merits and needs for autonomous vehicles, I would urge legislative caution. Yes, the legislation must be enabling, but as we will see with sat-nav systems even today, the concern is all about the data and the software's interpretation of it. By way of example, in my own constituency around the corner from where I live, there is a narrow street, Clapham Terrace. It's a cul-de-sac, which is regularly used erroneously by continental articulated lorries to access a local industrial estate. They must then reverse 300 metres back down a very narrow street with a school on it. And finally, can the ministers ensure that the bill is more clear in terms of vehicles, that it includes lorries, buses, motorbikes, scooters and electric bicycles? In all other respects, I very much welcome the intent of the bill. Thank you.